Hello, beautiful people. Welcome today. Today, I'm going to talk about the mind-body medicine approach to healing chronic pains and symptoms. And this is vital for us to understand because the medical system hasn't actually let's say, incorporated this into the daily practices. So this is a disclaimer. I'm not a medical doctor. I studied, I have a PhD in immunology and biomedicine, and worked in research and development as well. And so I saw firsthand the current medical model, the limitations of the current medical model, and the mass corruption and institutionalization of science and medical research. Profit over care is now, everyday thing, and it's outrageous. We just need to call it out for what it is now. We have to stand up and become, take responsibility for our own health. So there's a huge mismatch here. We have chronic conditions that are, taking over chronic, the appointments of doctors, 50 to 70% of all visits in the UK and the USA end in medically unexplained symptoms, or MUS's news. So I'm here to offer an alternative diagnosis, which is the mind-body syndrome. For these conditions, this worldwide epidemic that's really, and of course, this doesn't mean that you don't get checked out by your doctor and rule out any serious conditions, for example, or life-threatening, such as cancer. And so, that's very important as well. But in those cases where there are no diagnoses, or even if there is a diagnosis and there's a history, as I was saying yesterday, of various different conditions with perhaps triggers and, various other things going on, then you can also consider this possibility. So yes, the healthcare system is no longer a healthcare system; it's a sick care system. And I have a lot of compassion for the doctors working in the system, and me being, working in research and development and immunology in the medical schools. I saw, obviously, and collaborate with many of them, and with a lot of doctors, and I have a lot of, they try their best, right? So it's not through their fault of their own. Just the problem is that we haven't got a system set up. And there is actually, there's a lot of information out there, a lot of research, mind-body research that's going on, and evidence-based, a lot of, research that's been going on, and that's really showing the important role of the mind and body connection. So during my search for my own cure of the 18 different plus, different symptoms of chronic pain and disorders, for example, fibromyalgia, I had the fortune to search and research extensively on this mind-body connection in my own healing journey. And this, there's a wealth of evidence-based research out there. You just have to, you have to realize that it's there. There is, and this is why I distilled and, into it. I distilled the latest and greatest elements of this into my wisdom of pain healing process, which has helped many clients from all over the world. You can see my testimonials if you like. So the old medical system, the model is outdated and basically needs to be upgraded seriously. saying it mildly, and include new research that's been going on in that neuroscience and epigenetics and even quantum physics. And the new mind-body medicine revolution has started, and I don't know if you're aware of that, but I'm here to make you aware of that, or help you, become aware of that. And there are many now, doctors, super trained, such as Dr. Joe Dispenza and Bruce Lipton and many more, that have actually, realized and written many books about the power of the mind. And that's, not to say that anybody else is not doing great work, but they're my two mentors, and I highly recommend you to look into their books. And if you want to take, and of course Dr. Sarno, right? He's the grandfather of mind body. But it's that there is so many more. So the effects of stress and environmental stress and circumstantial stress on the body is indisputable now. I mean, this is from more than 20 years research, but most people have missed the idea that the internal stress of and the emotional turmoil, the effect that has on our health and well-being in general, right? So it's not just health, it's also the well-being, our relationships with other people, and the connection to ourselves and others. And there is a medical revolution going on to help people to understand that this is, that can be an empowerment here. And I hope through these videos that you will feel the empowerment, that it's not a dead end, that there are alternatives such as integrative medicine, functional medicine, and holistic approach to the health and well-being, which is something that the diagnoses that I had and the chronic pain felt to me certainly like a life sentence. And so it's really vital that we kind of open this opportunity, the possibility, right? The possibility here for healing. So holistic medicine basically just means that we're looking at the whole, we're holistic, we're constant, we're not just taking the body as parts, like, medicine normally just looks at the heart or the lungs or the eyes or the whatever part of the body that's dysfunctioning, and just sees it as that. And so that in itself is kind of like, well, we're not just a function of our parts, right? So we're not just a car that we take things apart and put them back together again, and just look at what's, we have to look at the whole, we have to look at all the aspects. And so yeah, rather than looking at just the parts, we're looking at the whole. And basically the holistic considers the emotional aspects as well as the structural aspects of the health and wellness or illness, all right? So by accepting this definition of holistic medicine, it doesn't by any means reject scientific methodology at all. In fact, on the contrary, we have to really be very, very, very more stringent and require proof and replication of results. And, evidence-based medicine applies to holistic medicine, right? It's just that the emotional element is often difficult to, equate in the studies. So it has to be even more, rigid, right? So, but leaving the emotional element out of studies and health, of health studies and health in general, is poor science. That has to be stated as well. It's not, if we leave the emotional element out, we're leaving out one of the most important elements of our health. So it just, it's bad science, right? All physicians should actually incorporate holistic medicine in the sense that they recognize the importance in the interaction between mind and body. And if your doctor or any doctor that you've been to doesn't consider this part of the element, the mind and the body connection, then go and find another doctor, because we have to call them out, not them. We have to now ask for what we want, right? And we want to have this in our daily, in our health system. So, what else do I want to say today? So, yes, why is mind-body syndrome, or TMS, so difficult to diagnose? Is basically that the physicians are not trained in this syndrome, and the medical model that they have been taught, for so many years is not upgraded, and has not been upgraded. And so you need to recognize that, and also see that this disorders are psychological. Some disorders have a massive, or minimum to massive psychological element, right? So TMS or mind-body syndrome or psychosomatic disorders fall between the cracks because these doctors are just not kind of trained in that way. So any kind of medically unexplained symptom can be TMS, and I'll go into detail about this more. But I just want to invite you to think of your, if you've been down the route of doctors like I had, and, many of my clients have, and had no success, or even have had diagnoses, but consider the possibility and the idea that the holistic approach, that there are emotional aspects to this physical disorder and disease, or symptoms and chronic pain, right? So you could start to just bring in this aspect and see what happens, right? And you can have amazing success, like my client Jane, who who had chronic pain for 25 years, and within 3 weeks was able to overcome it, and now has tools, regulating tools and soothing tools for her emotions, so that it doesn't actually have to be it doesn't have to manifest physically in her body anymore. The pressure and the strain and the stress of her emotions and her, that's just one example. So it's just, it's vital that we start to understand, take responsibility for our own health. TMS can affect, I'm going to go into this in more detail in my next videos, but TMS or mind-body syndrome can affect almost any physical, can affect almost any part of the body. Why is that? Because, they use, it's the muscles, tension, the tension in our bodies, they can affect any part of our bodies. But the majority of the stresses are actually in the core, the trunk, muscles, the core, like the neck, the shoulders, back, buttocks, and limbs. But that's not necessarily, only them. And they can affect both, nerves, muscles, ligaments, tendons, and tissues of the body. So there's, that's why there's such a variety of symptoms and pain that here, can be a result of emotional dysregulation, or let's say psychological aspects of pain. And this is the neurobiology, this is the learned pain, this is like the psychosomatic concepts. And it doesn't mean that there's no pain. Of course, it's not all in your brain. This is a lack of understanding that there is serious pain, obviously, right? But it's not physical, it's not a structural problem, as I will go into tomorrow. So with that, I'm going to leave it there, and have a beautiful day. And please tune in again if you want to start to open this Pandora's box and start to look into your healing journey. Consider working with me if that's something that resonates with you. You can see details of my program, The Wisdom of Pain Healing Journey, healing process on my website, and I'll put that down below. Yeah, take responsibility until the medical system and the healthcare or the sick care system wakes up to our new needs. We have to start to take care of ourselves until then. So have a beautiful day, and I'll speak to you tomorrow.